If you've never planned a wedding, you probably think the biggest stress comes from the dress, the budget, or maybe finding the right venue. But anyone who has actually been through it will tell you, nothing tests your sanity like the seating chart. My name is Amelia Hart, and I'm getting married in November to the love of my life, Lucas Bennett. Lucas and I have been together for 6 years, and he's the kind of man who somehow stays calm when the world is on fire. He's steady, reliable, and endlessly supportive. I don't know how I'd be surviving this wedding chaos without him. For me, the seating chart wasn't just about making sure the tables looked balanced or that the vibe was fun. No, for me, it was about preventing disaster. My family is complicated. There's my Uncle Robert and my cousin Marcus, who haven't spoken in nearly a decade after a blowout fight over money. Put them at the same table, and you can guarantee shouting, accusations, maybe even someone storming out. Then there's my Aunt Linda. She's loud, unpredictable, and has what you might call a sensitive relationship with alcohol. If she's anywhere near the open bar, the whole night could turn into a spectacle. And don't even get me started on my cousin Amy and her ex-boyfriend Daniel. They had a toxic, messy breakup, but unfortunately, both are still part of my extended circle. Keeping them apart wasn't optional. It was survival. So yes, I obsessed over that seating chart. I handwrote little notes for myself, who needed to be separated, who might get along, and who should never, under any circumstances, be within earshot of one another. It wasn't just planning. It was strategy. The problem? One of my bridesmaids, Serena Cole, decided she needed to know every little detail. At first, I brushed her off. She'd ask, "So, who am I sitting with? Who's at the fun table? Are you putting the singles together?" I'd laugh and say, "You'll see at the wedding." But Serena didn't let it go. She kept pressing, always with this casual smile, like she was just curious. "I just want to make sure the vibes are good," she said one night while we were stuffing invitation envelopes. You know, so people don't feel left out. It felt harmless at the time. Serena had been my friend since college. She was funny, outgoing, and she'd been by my side through so many ups and downs. I trusted her. So when she asked again, I finally showed her a copy of the seating chart. I regret that moment more than anything. I remember her eyes scanning the page, her grin widening. "Oh wow, this is so detailed. You even wrote notes? That's kind of savage, Amelia." She giggled, but there was a sharp edge to it. I felt my stomach twist. "It's not savage. It's just necessary. You don't know my family, like I do. This is the only way the night won't implode." She nodded quickly, almost too quickly. Of course. You're right. I totally get it." I should have noticed the way she tucked her phone under the table a few minutes later. I should have noticed how she excused herself to the bathroom, gone just long enough to make me wonder. But I didn't. I trusted her. Fast forward a week. I was at work when I got a message from someone on Lucas's side of the family, a cousin of his I barely knew. "Hey, Amelia," the message read. "I heard we're at the boring table in the back. Is that true?" I blinked at my phone, confused. The boring table? How would they even know? My chest tightened as I reread the message, and then it hit me. There was only one place they could have seen that. My notes. Hand shaking, I scrolled through Facebook. It didn't take long to find it. Serena ran a private Facebook group with about 80 members, mostly mutual friends, acquaintances, people from college. And right there, staring back at me, was my entire seating chart, complete with my handwritten notes. Next to Marcus and Robert's names, "Don't seat together, family feud." Next to Aunt Linda's, "Keep her away from the open bar." Next to Amy, "Far away from Daniel." My face burned as I scrolled through the comments. Wow, savage notes faced with tears of joy. Amelia really out here controlling everyone's lives. Can't believe we're the boring table. Drama queen much? I felt sick. When Lucas got home that night, I was pacing the kitchen, phone in hand, tears threatening to spill. I shoved it at him, and his jaw tightened as he scrolled. "She did this," he asked, voice low. "Yes," I whispered. She said it was an accident. She meant to screenshot it for herself, but somehow uploaded it to her group instead. But Lucas, my notes, my private notes, are out there now. Everyone knows. His eyes darkened. "Amelia, this wasn't an accident. You don't just accidentally post something like this to 80 people. She humiliated you on purpose." I wanted to believe otherwise. Serena had been my friend for years. Why would she sabotage me? But deep down, I knew Lucas was right. And now? Now I had furious relatives messaging me, offended guests threatening not to come, and 2 months before my wedding, I was redoing the entire seating plan from scratch. Lucas put his hand on my shoulder. "Cut her out," he said firmly. "She doesn't deserve to stand next to you on our wedding day." But my heart twisted. Serena had been in my life for so long. Could I really cut her out? As I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something chilling. The hardest part of this wedding wasn't the planning, the budget, or the family feuds. The hardest part was realizing that the person who betrayed me wasn't a distant relative or some petty acquaintance. It was someone I had called my friend. The morning after I discovered Serena's Facebook post, my phone felt like it had turned into a bomb. Notifications pinged one after another, text messages, missed calls, even voicemails. Who even leaves voicemails anymore? Everyone suddenly had something to say about my savage little notes. The first message I opened was from my cousin Amy. "Really, Amelia? Keep Amy far away from Daniel? Do you know how humiliating that is to read? Like I can't handle myself for one night. My throat tightened. I typed back carefully. Amy, it wasn't meant for anyone to see. I was just trying to avoid unnecessary drama. I didn't mean to embarrass you. She left me on read. Then came a message from Aunt Linda. So, I'm a drunk liability now? That's what you think of me? Don't bother putting me at any table if that's how you see me. By the time I got to the fifth angry message, my hands were trembling. Lucas came into the kitchen, half dressed for work, and stopped in his tracks when he saw me hunched over my phone. Who's blowing up your phone this early? He asked, voice heavy with suspicion. I tossed the phone onto the counter like it was poison. Everyone. They all know Lucas. Amy's mad. Aunt Linda's furious. Your cousin texted me about being at the boring table. They all think I'm some control freak who thinks they're children. Lucas exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through his hair. This is insane. Serena has put you in an impossible position. If she really cared about you, she'd be the one explaining herself to these people, not leaving you to drown in the fallout. I nodded numbly. He was right. But as angry as I was at Serena, part of me was still clinging to the hope that maybe, somehow, this really was just a mistake. That hope died the next time I saw her. We met up for coffee a few days later. I picked a quiet cafe downtown, thinking it would be easier to talk without an audience. When Serena walked in, she looked radiant. Perfect hair, big sunglasses, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. Amelia, she sang, sweeping in to hug me. Oh my God, you look stressed. Wedding planning is killing you, huh? I pulled back, my lips pressed tight. Serena, we need to talk about what you did. Her smile faltered just slightly before she slipped into a look of wounded innocence. Oh no, you're still upset about that silly little mix-up? Mix-up. My voice cracked sharper than I intended. You posted my entire seating chart to your Facebook group. With my private notes. Everyone saw. Do you have any idea what you've done? She held up her hands like I was overreacting. Amelia, I already told you. It was an accident. I meant to screenshot it for myself, but you know how the Facebook app is. I must have hit post instead of save. It happens. I stared at her, dumbfounded. To 80 people, Serena? You accidentally posted something to 80 people? Her eyes darted away for a split second, then back to me. Look, I deleted it as soon as I realized. I apologized. What more do you want from me? What more did I want? I wanted her to actually care about what she'd done. I wanted her to acknowledge that this wasn't some minor slip-up. It was sabotage. You've turned my family against me, I whispered, my throat tight. I'm 2 months away from my wedding, and instead of being excited, I'm putting out fires because of you. For the first time, I saw a flicker of something sharp in her expression. Annoyance? Defensiveness? Maybe even satisfaction. Well, she said slowly, stirring her coffee, maybe if you didn't write things like that in the first place, you wouldn't have this problem. I mean, come on, Amelia. Calling your aunt a liability? Saying your cousin can't handle her ex? That's kind of harsh. My stomach dropped. Those notes weren't meant for public eyes. She shrugged. Still, if you really thought you could control people like chess pieces, maybe it's better they know how you really see them. It was like being slapped. I sat there in silence, my chest burning, as Serena smiled sweetly and changed the subject, like we hadn't just shredded years of friendship in one conversation. When I got home, I collapsed on the couch. Lucas sat down next to me, his jaw tight. Well, he asked. What did she say? I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. She called it a mistake, but she doesn't even feel bad. She thinks I brought this on myself. Lucas swore under his breath. That's it. She's done. Amelia, you can't have her standing next to you at the altar. She doesn't deserve that place in your life. The words echoed in my head, but I couldn't say them out loud yet. Serena had been there through college breakups, through job rejections, through all the little crises of my 20s. Cutting her out felt like cutting off a limb. But then, the texts kept rolling in. Amy sent another. Guess I'll just prepare to be treated like a child at your wedding. Linda called my mom, crying about how I thought she was a drunk. Lucas's side of the family started quietly asking if maybe they could move to different tables. Suddenly, my carefully balanced chart was unraveling. Everyone wanted to move, to sit somewhere else, to rewrite the plan I'd worked on for weeks. And through it all, Serena stayed silent. A week later, my bridesmaid Harper pulled me aside during dress fittings. She has always been the blunt one of the group, and she didn't waste time. I hate to tell you this, Amelia, but Serena's been running her mouth. I overheard her talking to some of the other girls. She's downplaying everything, saying you're overreacting, that it's not a big deal. She even joked that maybe the seating drama will make your wedding memorable. My blood ran cold. Lila, my other bridesmaid, chimed in. She said that if you can't handle a little drama, maybe you're not ready for marriage. The room tilted around me. That wasn't just carelessness. That was cruel. That was deliberate. That night, I sat at my dining table, surrounded by scraps of paper and half-empty cups of coffee. I had to redo the seating chart from scratch, this time without any notes that could ruin me if they got out again. As I shuffled names around, my phone buzzed. It was Serena. Hey, just checking in. Do you want me to help you redo the chart? I feel really bad about what happened. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. Help. The same woman who caused this disaster wanted to help. I turned off my phone, shoved it face down, and whispered to myself, "She's not my friend anymore." Not really. But saying it to myself in the quiet of my dining room was one thing. Saying it out loud, to her face, to my family, to my wedding party, that would be another battle entirely. And something told me the war had only just begun. Hi everyone, it's Amelia again. I didn't think I'd be posting an update this soon, but things have spiraled even further, and I honestly need to get it off my chest. After Serena leaked my seating chart, I thought the worst was just the embarrassment. People saw things they weren't meant to see, some feelings got hurt, and I'd spend a few nights redrawing everything. I figured that was the price I had to pay for trusting the wrong person. But I underestimated how much people love to feed off drama. Within days, the seating chart turned into a battleground. Everyone suddenly had an opinion about where they should sit, and who they should sit with. Lucas's cousin messaged again, this time saying, "Since we're the boring table, can you at least move us closer to the dance floor so it feels like we're included?" Aunt Linda called me herself. "Sweetheart, if I can't be near the open bar, can you at least put me near the DJ? I don't want to feel punished." Even Amy texted again. "If you're that worried about me and Daniel, just put me at the singles table, so I don't have to think about him at all." It was endless. And the worst part? People were now treating it like I had opened up a suggestion box. It wasn't, "Oh, sorry for overreacting." It was, "Okay, well, since we all saw your notes, here's my demand." I felt like a wedding planner trapped in a negotiation with 50 stubborn clients. Through all of this, Lucas has been my rock. He keeps telling me, "It's our day, Amelia. We don't owe anyone a seat change, and we definitely don't owe Serena a place in our lives." He's right, but saying it is easier than doing it, because Serena won't leave me alone. She's been texting me every other day, offering to help smooth things over. The last text read, "Hey girl, I know everyone's being dramatic, but maybe if you let me talk to them, I can calm it down. People listen to me." Lucas practically growled when he read that over my shoulder. She caused the fire, and now she wants to play firefighter? No, absolutely not. But here's the kicker. She hasn't just been messaging me. Harper pulled me aside again last weekend and told me that Serena has been gossiping behind my back. Apparently, she's telling people that I'm losing it over nothing, that I'm being controlling and paranoid. Lila confirmed it. She overheard Serena joking with one of the groomsmen that the seating chart drama was the most entertaining thing to happen all year. Entertaining. My nightmare is entertaining to her. So now I'm caught in this impossible spot. My family is angry at me for trying to control seating. Lucas's side thinks I don't want them involved in the fun. My so-called friend is fueling the fire while pretending to be helpful. And I'm still trying to plan a wedding that's supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. At this point, I can't even look at Serena the same way. Every time she smiles at me, all I see is the Facebook post, the comments, the humiliation. Lucas keeps pushing me to cut her from the bridal party. He says, "If she walks down that aisle next to you, she'll ruin the photos just by being in them. You'll regret it for the rest of your life." And maybe he's right. But the idea of telling Serena she's out, of dealing with the inevitable explosion that would cause, makes me feel sick. So for now, I've decided to distance myself. I don't text her back right away. I don't share new wedding details with her. Harper and Lila know what's going on, and they've been amazing. But there's tension in the air now, like everyone is waiting to see if I'll snap. And honestly, I might. Because if the drama over seating is this bad now, I can only imagine what the actual wedding day will look like. And that thought terrifies me. By the time the calendar flipped to September, I thought maybe, just maybe, the storm was starting to calm. People had gotten their initial outrage out of the way. I was quietly rebuilding the seating chart, and I was trying to convince myself that if I just kept my head down, it would all blow over. I was wrong. It didn't blow over. It blew up. It started with my mom. She called one evening while I was folding laundry, her voice tight. "Amelia, what's going on with the wedding? Your Aunt Linda just called me in tears. She says you don't even want her there." I froze, a pair of Lucas's socks clutched in my hands. "That's not true. I never said that." "Well, that's what she thinks," Mom pressed. "She says you called her a drunk and you don't trust her near alcohol." My throat burned. "Mom, that was a private note on a private chart that was never meant for her to see. You know how Linda is." But Mom cut me off. "That's not the point, Amelia. The point is she feels insulted. And now the whole family is talking about how controlling you're being. They're saying you're turning your wedding into a dictatorship." Dictatorship. The word hit me like a punch. "Mom," I whispered. "I'm just trying to keep the peace. I don't want fights breaking out or people storming out. That's it." She sighed heavily, the kind of sigh that said she was exhausted with me. "Well, you need to fix this. Otherwise, half the family might not show up." I hung up and sat there in stunned silence until Lucas came over and pulled the socks from my limp hands. "What happened?" he asked. I told him. Every word. His jaw clenched. "So let me get this straight. Serena sabotaged you. Your family is twisting your intentions, and now you're the villain? This is insane." I buried my face in my hands. "I don't know how to fix it, Lucas. No matter what I say, they think I'm controlling. They don't see I was just trying to prevent chaos." He wrapped an arm around me. You don't need to fix it. They'll see the truth eventually. And as for Serena, his voice hardened. She's not coming near you after this. I won't allow it. But Serena wasn't done. At the next bridesmaid gathering, a simple brunch to go over dress fittings, I caught her whispering to one of the other girls. They didn't notice me walk in until I was right behind them. Amelia's gone full bridezilla, Serena was saying with a laugh. She's micromanaging everything, even who can sit where. Honestly, I'm surprised Lucas hasn't run for the hills yet. The other bridesmaid giggled nervously, clearly uncomfortable. But Serena? She looked delighted, like this was the performance of her life. My stomach flipped. I wanted to scream, to throw her out right then and there. But instead, I swallowed the words, plastered on a smile, and pretended I hadn't heard. Because the truth is, I was scared. Scared of what would happen if I confronted her. Scared of what she might say. Or worse, what else she might do. The backlash wasn't limited to family either. Lucas's side of the family started quietly grumbling, too. His aunt sent me a polite but pointed email. I heard we've been labeled the boring table. I hope this was a misunderstanding. We wouldn't want to feel like outsiders at such an important event. I nearly threw my laptop across the room. It wasn't just that they'd seen the word boring. It was that they were now convinced that's how I truly saw them. And how do you defend yourself against that? How do you explain that you only wrote it as shorthand, a reminder to spice up the table so no one felt left out? How do you explain that without sounding like you're making excuses? Every attempt at explanation just made me look guiltier. One night, Harper came over with takeout and a bottle of wine. She took one look at me, dark circles under my eyes, hair a mess, surrounded by scraps of paper and half-finished seating drafts, and shook her head. This isn't okay, Amelia. You can't keep doing this to yourself. I laughed bitterly. What choice do I have? If I don't redo the chart, everyone will hate me. If I do redo it, they'll still hate me. Harper set down the food and leaned across the table. You know this isn't about the chart anymore, right? This is about Serena. She threw you under the bus, and now she's laughing while you crawl out from under it. I looked up at her, eyes stinging. I can't cut her out. Not now. It'll just make things worse. Harper's expression softened, but her voice stayed firm. Worse than this? Amelia, she's enjoying this. She wants you to look bad. If you let her keep standing next to you on your wedding day, you're basically telling everyone she can get away with it. The words sank deep. Was that what Serena wanted? For me to look like the controlling, paranoid bride while she played the innocent friend? The thought made me sick. By mid-September, the wedding wasn't just a celebration anymore. It was a chess match. Every move I made, every decision, every seating change, was under scrutiny. People gossiped behind my back. My mom sighed whenever I brought up the wedding. Lucas's family kept sending little suggestions that felt more like ultimatums. And through it all, Serena kept smiling. Smiling like she was winning. That night, lying awake beside Lucas, I whispered the words I hadn't dared to say before. I think Serena did it on purpose. Lucas didn't even hesitate. Of course she did. I turned to face him, my voice shaking. She wanted me to look bad. And it worked. Lucas reached for my hand. Then the only question is, what are you going to do about it? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I knew one thing for certain. The backlash had turned my wedding into a minefield. And unless I figured out how to disarm it, the explosion on the wedding day would be inevitable. By the time September slipped into October, Amelia Hart felt like she was living inside a storm that wouldn't let up. What was supposed to be the happiest countdown of her life, her final weeks before marrying Lucas Bennett, had turned into a relentless cycle of texts, emails, phone calls, and whispered gossip. All thanks to Serena Cole, the bridesmaid who had sworn it was an accident that the seating chart leaked had managed to light a fire under nearly every relative and friend on the guest list. It didn't matter that Amelia had reworked the seating chart twice. It didn't matter that she had carefully tried to smooth over family grudges and make sure no one was placed in a situation that would spark drama. People still remembered her notes. Those scrawled private comments that weren't supposed to be public, the ones that bluntly spelled out family flaws and ex-lover landmines, were haunting her. And no matter how often she tried to explain, no one seemed to understand that Serena was the one who'd spread them, not her. On a chilly Friday morning, Amelia sat at her kitchen table, hands wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee, staring at her phone as it vibrated nonstop. Lucas came down the stairs, already in his work shirt, and frowned when he saw her face. Still about the seating? He asked, running a hand through his hair. She nodded, showing him the phone. A text from her cousin Amy glowed on the screen. Why does Daniel have to sit all the way across the room? It makes me look like I can't handle myself. Lucas let out a low groan. We've gone over this 100 times. If Amy and Daniel are anywhere near each other, it's going to end in fireworks. And not the pretty kind. I know, Amelia whispered. But she doesn't care. She's embarrassed. Everyone keeps acting like I'm the problem, when I was only trying to prevent disaster. Lucas sat beside her, taking her hand. That's because Serena twisted the whole thing. She's out there playing innocent while you look like the controlling bride. And that's exactly what she wanted. The name hit Amelia like a slap every time she heard it. Serena Cole. Her friend. Her bridesmaid. Her supposed support system. The same girl who had smiled at fittings and talked about matching nails and then carelessly destroyed months of careful planning with a single upload to Facebook. The worst part was that Serena hadn't been exiled. Not yet. She still showed up to group chats. Still sent messages about shoes and flower crowns. Still tried to act like nothing had changed. But beneath the surface, her behavior had shifted. She started slipping in comments like, well, people wouldn't be so upset if you just gave them more flexibility, or, maybe you shouldn't have written notes like that if you didn't want anyone to see them. Gaslighting. That was what Lucas called it. And Amelia was beginning to agree. A week later, another bomb dropped. Her uncle Robert, already known for his sharp tongue, called her directly. Amelia, he started, his tone clipped. I'm not coming to your wedding if you expect me to sit 2 tables away from Marcus. Amelia froze. Uncle Robert, please. No. I've had it. I won't sit there like some sideshow attraction while everyone whispers. Either move me, or I'm out. Her chest tightened. If I move you, Marcus will threaten to leave. Don't you see? That's why I... Click. The call ended. Amelia slammed her phone down and buried her face in her hands. It was unraveling piece by piece. And Serena's smug silence on the matter felt like salt on an open wound. Meanwhile, Serena wasn't exactly staying quiet. She had begun floating little narratives at bridal events. At Harper's birthday dinner, she told a group of Amelia's friends, honestly, I think Amelia's just under so much stress, Sometimes brides overthink things. I'm sure she didn't mean for those notes to sound so harsh. The implication was clear. Amelia had brought the chaos on herself. Word of those conversations eventually made their way back to Amelia, who confronted Serena over text. You need to stop talking about me behind my back. Serena responded instantly. I'm not. I'm just defending you, actually. People think you're being controlling. I'm trying to smooth it over. It was a lie. And Amelia knew it. The pressure began to affect Amelia physically. She found herself losing sleep, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., her mind racing with imagined disasters. Robert storming out mid-dinner. Amy crying over Daniel. Aunt Linda sneaking to the bar and causing a scene. She could see the whole wedding collapsing like dominoes. Lucas tried to soothe her, reminding her that at the end of the day, they were getting married, and that was all that mattered. But Amelia couldn't shake the fear that her carefully planned day would be remembered not for love, but for chaos. 2 weeks before the wedding, another confrontation erupted. At a dress fitting, Lila Brooks leaned in close and whispered, Serena's been hinting that maybe she should take over the seating chart. She said she could fix the bad vibes. Amelia's jaw dropped. She what? Lila nodded grimly. I think she's angling to make you look worse. If she takes control and people like it better, she'll look like the hero. That night, Amelia snapped. She called Serena and demanded answers. Why are you trying to undermine me? Amelia asked, voice shaking with fury. Serena sighed dramatically. Amelia, relax. I'm not trying to undermine you. I just think you're too stressed, and maybe I can help. People like me. I can smooth things over. That's not help. Amelia shot back. That's betrayal. You leaked my notes, Serena. You humiliated me. And now you want to fix it so you look like the savior? No. Absolutely not. For the first time, Serena's mask cracked. Wow. You really are turning into a bridezilla. Amelia ended the call without another word. As the days ticked down, Amelia's resolve hardened. She wasn't going to let Serena steal the spotlight or twist the truth. The wedding would happen. The guests would learn, whether they liked it or not, why she had made the choices she did. And if Serena tried anything else, Amelia was ready to cut her loose. The morning of November 12th dawned crisp and clear, with sunlight pouring through the tall windows of the bridal suite. Amelia's heart should have been floating on air. She should have been sipping champagne with her bridesmaids, laughing as they got ready, her heart fluttering with the knowledge that in just a few hours she would walk down the aisle to Lucas Bennett. But instead, her stomach was tied in knots. The storm Serena Cole had unleashed was still raging. Despite Amelia's careful attempts to repair the seating chart, whispers had continued. Guests had grumbled. Family members had complained. And Amelia had overheard enough muttering during the rehearsal dinner to know that many people were still bitter. This wedding had been carefully crafted to avoid exactly that. Bitterness, awkward reunions, explosive confrontations. Now, thanks to Serena's meddling, Amelia felt like she was walking into a minefield. Still, she straightened her shoulders as Harper Lane zipped up the back of her dress. She was radiant in her lace gown. Her dark hair curled into soft waves, her veil pinned delicately in place. No one would see her anxiety. Not today. Breathe, Harper whispered. It's your day, Amelia. Don't let her win. Amelia forced a small smile. You're right. Today's about Lucas and me, not her. But deep inside, she knew the seating arrangement would come back to haunt them. The ceremony itself was flawless. The guests filled the church pews in hushed anticipation. Lucas stood at the altar, tall and steady, his blue tie matching the flowers in Amelia's bouquet. When the music swelled and Amelia began her walk down the aisle, all the noise and chaos of the past weeks seemed to fade. For those 20 minutes, nothing existed but the two of them, promising forever. The applause when they kissed was thunderous, echoing through the vaulted ceilings. It was everything Amelia had dreamed of. But then came the reception. The ballroom glowed with candlelight. Tables draped in ivory cloth were set with gold-rimmed plates and towering floral arrangements. The place cards Amelia had rewritten again and again were neatly arranged, ready to guide guests to their seats. For a moment, as the newlyweds were announced and the music swelled, Amelia believed maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind her. Then the murmuring started. A group of guests from Lucas's side clustered near the entrance, whispering as they looked down at the cards. One of them, a distant cousin named Trevor, frowned and muttered loudly enough for others to hear, "Why are we shoved in the back again? This is ridiculous." On the other side of the room, Aunt Linda Carter picked up her card, squinted, and said, "The far corner? Away from the bar? Really, Amelia?" She laughed, but it was sharp, mocking. Nearby, Amy Carter glared at her placement across the room from Daniel Price. "So, I'm sitting with strangers, while he gets to sit near my friends. What kind of punishment is this?" It was happening. All at once, like a ripple of dissatisfaction spreading across the hall. Amelia and Lucas sat at their sweetheart table, trying to hold it together as the guests grumbled. Harper leaned close from her nearby seat and whispered, "It's starting. But don't panic yet. Maybe they'll settle down once dinner starts." But they didn't settle. Instead, guests began to move. First, Aunt Linda swept her place card into her clutch and announced, "I'll just sit here with Robert. Thank you very much," plopping herself down beside Amelia's uncle without a second thought. Robert, startled, muttered, "I wasn't." But before he could finish, Marcus' heart strode over. "If she's sitting here, then I'm not," he said, snatching his card and storming off to another table. Amelia's heart pounded as she watched the dominoes fall. Amy followed Daniel's table, insisting she had every right to sit with people she knew. Guests shuffled around, chairs screeching, placed cards abandoned like confetti. The carefully curated chart she had labored over for weeks was disintegrating before her eyes. And Serena? She was watching it unfold with a smug little smile. As dinner service began, the chaos only worsened. Robert and Marcus, forced within earshot, began snapping at each other over the wine. Amy threw icy glares at Daniel, who in turn whispered loudly to his tablemates about immature behavior. Aunt Linda, finally close enough to the bar, had her first drink before appetizers were even served. Everywhere Amelia looked, the order she had tried so desperately to create had collapsed. Guests shot her accusatory glances, as though her entire plan had been a cruel joke. Finally, after Amy loudly accused Daniel of ruining her night, Amelia couldn't take it anymore. She stood, her chair scraping across the floor, and raised her voice over the din. Enough. The ballroom fell silent. Dozens of eyes turned toward her. Amelia felt her pulse thundering in her ears, but she didn't waver. "You all think I'm controlling. You all think I did this for fun. But let me tell you why I made that seating chart. Uncle Robert and Marcus haven't spoken in years. If they're too close, it ends in a fight. Amy and Daniel. Yes, I separated you because I didn't want this night to turn into a battlefield. And Aunt Linda." Amelia turned toward her, eyes blazing. "You know exactly why I didn't put you next to the open bar." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Aunt Linda flushed scarlet. Robert shifted uncomfortably. Amy's mouth fell open. "This wasn't about control," Amelia continued, her voice steady now. "It was about protecting this day from exactly what's happening right now. But none of you trusted me. None of you respected my choices. And do you want to know why?" Her gaze locked onto Serena. "Because someone I trusted, someone who was supposed to be my friend, decided to humiliate me. She took my private notes and broadcast them. And ever since, she's been stirring the pot, pretending she wanted to help." A hush fell over the room. Every eye turned to Serena, who froze in her seat. "That's right," Amelia said, her voice sharp as glass. "Serena Cole, my bridesmaid. The reason this night has been poisoned. She wanted attention and she got it, but at my expense." Serena's face drained of color. "Amelia, that's not." But the guests weren't listening. Whispers surged like a wave. Heads shook. People glared at Serena. Some even scooted their chairs away from her. For once, the spotlight wasn't on Amelia. It was on Serena. The rest of the night carried on, but the shift was palpable. Guests stopped blaming Amelia. Instead, they muttered about Serena's betrayal, her selfishness. Aunt Linda quieted down. Robert and Marcus restrained themselves. Amy sulked in silence. By the time the cake was cut and the music started, guests were actually approaching Amelia to apologize. "You were right," Amy admitted, sheepishly. "I see that now." Robert clasped her shoulder and said, "I should have trusted you." Even Aunt Linda muttered a half-hearted, "Fair enough." But Serena? She sat in the corner, red-faced, ignored, humiliated. And for the first time in weeks, Amelia finally breathed. The ballroom floor gleamed beneath strings of golden lights, the sound of laughter and music filling the air once more. Against all odds, the reception had stabilized. The guests, chastened by Amelia's raw honesty, had returned to their seats, though not always the ones originally assigned, and managed to coexist without further explosions. It wasn't perfect. There were still sharp looks exchanged across tables, and Aunt Linda had to be quietly cut off after her fourth glass of wine. But compared to the chaos of earlier, it was manageable. For Amelia Hart, though, the victory wasn't just in saving her wedding night. It was in watching Serena Cole shrink into the background, her once confident smile wiped away, her reputation crumbling in real time. By the end of the evening, guests avoided Serena like a shadow. Where she had once held court with bubbly charm, now she sat isolated, her champagne flute untouched, her phone clutched like a lifeline. Every now and then she would try to insert herself into a conversation, only to be met with tight smiles and polite dismissals. It was exactly the humiliation Amelia had never dared to hope for, but deeply needed. Later that night, after the last song faded and guests began collecting coats, Amelia stood by the doors with Lucas, thanking people as they departed. Her family members approached one by one, offering apologies that felt long overdue. Uncle Robert was first. His face was flushed with embarrassment as he muttered, "I gave you a hard time, Amelia. I shouldn't have. You were right. About all of it." Marcus followed, his tone more subdued. "I didn't realize how much effort you put in to keep things peaceful. I respect that now." Aunt Linda gave a small, awkward laugh. "Guess you know me too well, huh? Sorry, sweetheart." And Amy, who had fought her the hardest, hugged her tightly. "I'm sorry for the drama. You were trying to protect me, not embarrass me. I see that now." Amelia accepted each apology with grace, but inside, she felt a bittersweet ache. All of this could have been avoided. If Serena hadn't betrayed her, none of the private notes would have been public. None of the resentment, the fights, the tears. And yet, maybe there was a strange kind of justice in it. Because now everyone finally understood. The one person who didn't approach was Serena. She lingered near the back of the room, pretending to scroll through her phone, but Amelia could feel her eyes flicking nervously toward her. At last, when most of the guests had gone, Serena shuffled forward, her voice low. "Amelia, can we talk?" Lucas stiffened beside his bride, but Amelia raised a hand to stop him. She looked Serena in the eye, her voice calm but unyielding. "There's nothing left to say." Serena flinched. "Please. I didn't mean for it to blow up like this. I was just trying to." "To what?" Amelia cut in sharply. "Make yourself look important? Prove you knew something others didn't? You humiliated me, Serena. You turned people against me. And then you sat back and watched while I drowned." Serena's eyes filled with tears. "I made a mistake. But we've been friends for years." Amelia shook her head. "A real friend doesn't destroy your wedding and then call you a bridezilla when you stand up for yourself. You showed me exactly who you are." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Serena opened her mouth as if to argue, but then closed it, her shoulders slumping. Without another word, Amelia turned and walked away with Lucas, leaving Serena standing alone in the emptying hall. The next morning, as Amelia and Lucas packed for their short honeymoon trip, Amelia blocked Serena's number. She deleted her from every group chat, unfollowed her on social media, and told Harper and Lila firmly, "I'm done. No contact." It wasn't a decision made out of rage, but out of clarity. Some betrayals could never be repaired. In the weeks that followed, the story of the seating chart scandal became a whispered anecdote among family and friends. But instead of blaming Amelia, people now shook their heads at Serena's audacity. Harper called one afternoon to report. Serena tried to explain herself at brunch last week. Nobody wanted to hear it. She's pretty much burned her bridges. Amelia felt no satisfaction, only relief. Serena had humiliated herself far worse than Amelia ever could have planned. And when Amelia looked back on her wedding day, she didn't remember the chaos of the seating debacle. She remembered Lucas's steady hand in hers, the vows they had exchanged, the way he whispered, "We did it," into her ear during their first dance. The drama had nearly consumed everything. But in the end, it had only revealed who truly belonged in her life, and who never deserved a seat at her table in the first place. Months later, Amelia scrolled through her phone and noticed something curious. Serena's once bustling Facebook group had vanished. Deleted. Rumor had it that after the wedding fallout, members had left in droves. Serena's reputation as the social connector was gone. Amelia smiled faintly, setting her phone aside. She had her husband. She had her true friends. And she had her peace. Serena Cole, once her bridesmaid, was nothing more than a closed chapter. And Amelia Hart never looked back. And that's how Amelia discovered the truth about her so-called friend Serena. What was supposed to be the happiest day of her life nearly turned into chaos. But in the end, the truth came out, and Serena was left humiliated in front of everyone. Amelia chose peace, cut her off for good, and moved forward with Lucas by her side. But what do you think? Was Amelia right to go no contact with Serena, or should she have given her another chance? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more dramatic tales.